Welcome to the Pivot Experience podcast, where leadership transformation isn't just a concept, it's a journey we take together. This is where real leaders share real stories about the moments that changed everything. In each episode, we dive deep into the pivotal experiences that transformed good leaders into great ones. Whether you're a seasoned executive, a rising star in your organization, or someone ready to take that next big step in your leadership journey, you're in the right place. Get ready to learn, grow, and maybe even find that spark that ignites your own leadership pivot. This is the Pivot Experience podcast, where your next breakthrough starts here.
The incomparable Javonna Roach, and today we're hosting a very special Lead Better. As you guys know, the Lead Better platform is something we created here at TPE to be able to provide free virtual sessions about topics that we feel are relevant and that are important to you guys in the leadership space. And on today's session and on the previous sessions, we've had the opportunity to have LDP participants here. But today is very special because we have one of our very own clients who had the opportunity to get into LDP via coaching from us. And today we have Joseph Martinez on. But before we get into introductions of Joseph, we want to kind of introduce ourselves really quickly. Again, my name is Alex Hill, and I've had the chance for working for the world's most caring company for the last 23 years. And so I kind of know what it means to steward alongside great leaders like yourself and building a meaningful brand. I've had the opportunity to develop this coaching company where I have been very blessed to be able to work with some wonderful people. First up, there's Javonna Roach. She is titled by her friends and family the Gavel. And so if you guys know her, if you've come to know her, if you work with her, I see her clients smiling on the line. You guys definitely, if I can echo that sentiment, that she is the Gavel at home. She's the Gavel for TPE, and she's the Gavel for the Chick-fil-A she works for. She's worked for Chick-fil-A now for 24 years herself. And so me and her have been in the trenches for a similar amount of time. And we've seen a lot of things over the term that we've been here, but she really specializes in communication and helping people understand their values and driving their story. And a lot of our Lead Better stage going to revolve around that topic. We also have Neff Franco. I like to call him our Swiss Army knife. He is our bilingual specialist. He does a lot of our Spanish coaching. He primarily focuses in on that area. And as you guys can tell, he is the tech side of what we do here. Of what we do here at TPE as well. Him and I share in that responsibility. And also to be on the lookout, there's going to be some Spanish cohorts starting in July that he's going to be leading. And so, come very soon, there'll be information going out there about how you can get your teams involved with some Spanish coaching. We would like to be able to offer something reoccurring, and we're going to start this first group off for free. And so that's Neff. Then we also have Ashley. Ashley Allison, her and I have the opportunity of working together here in South Texas, or Southeast Texas rather. She's been with the brand nearly a decade. Her husband is new to the LDP scene. He is also one of the clients here at TPE. But Ashley Allison is the administrative strong arm here. She really she's the glue. It really keeps us together. She keeps us on our toes, and she specializes in creating a path forward for young leaders. And so a lot of her client workload is younger leaders. She actually has a young LDP participant aspiring LDP participant as well. I mean, then we've got the newest kid on the block, but don't let that fool you. I think he's just as capable, just as strong, and just as confident as each of us, and that's Abram Moon. He's been around the brand also for over a decade now, just over a decade, I believe. He's actually in the phases of becoming an operator himself. He's getting ready to have his in-person interviews. I don't know if he has any dates locked down yet. If you notice, him and his bestie have the same background. They have the same library membership. Anyway, all right, let's get ready to jump into today's Lead Better. Joseph, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here, Alex, and thank you for that opportunity, and anything I could do to help others that may be in the same journey as me, just like you guys helped me. I'm all up for it.
Yeah, I remember when we had our discovery call in the very beginning. I just loved your energy, and I was like, man, what's going on? Why is this guy not already in? And just your passion, your everything that you brought to the table. I believe that this is going to be a easy journey for you, but I'm sure Javonna took you to the next level. But I want to first off do a game with you that Javonna already mentioned. It's this thing that we do here at TPE called Tug of War. All right. Well, I'm going to give you two words that you probably will be well served having both in your organization, but I'm going to force you to pick one of them.
Oh,
Okay, just one. Okay, and so the first set of words here. Well, first of all, are you ready to play?
I don't have another option, right?
very, very true. Very true. Very true. So. All right, and then Ashley, thank you for that. If you guys want to put your word choice in the comments, that would be fantastic. Okay, so you guys will be playing along with Joseph as we go along here. So Joseph, your first set of words are going to be relationships or results.
Relationships.
Okay, and why did you pick relationships?
Because anybody that knows me knows that I accomplish results through relationship. Family first always, and friendship first.
No, I love that. Love that. Empathy or accountability?
I'm gonna say accountability. I think that's the best way you can show empathy, by being honest and upfront with someone and letting them know when they're not doing the correct thing. That's the best way to show.
Okay. I like how concise your answers are. Let me see some of that training that you got there from Javonna. All right, clear expectations or freedom?
Oh, that's a really tough one. I'm gonna say clear expectations. I believe that if you're clear, it's gonna help you with that accountability piece and inspect what you expect. So just being clear on what you're expecting in any type of moment, not only with your team but also with your leaders, is gonna give them that flexibility and ultimately get to that freedom because they know what to expect from yourself.
Excellent. I love that. And
I will have to say something to that. So I've loved that question every time because we get different answers on that one a lot. But I think Jocko Willink says it well, discipline equals freedom. So when you think about like your finances, right? If you have discipline in your finances, you'll be financially free. So I don't know. I like your answer on that, Joseph, because I think too, like clear expectations, right? That discipline equals the ability to have freedom. And in the LDP process, one of the things that you get to experience a lot of is freedom. And you might not have gotten to experience that freedom before. Whereas like when you're underneath an operator or, maybe you have an operating partner who kind of makes a lot more of the decisions. And so kind of you're executing those decisions. But I think year over year, that clear expectations helps you to get to that point where you are free to make decisions and choices. So I don't know. I just thought about, I've been trying to remember that quote every time we play this game. And then it struck me today. I was like, oh, discipline equals freedom. So Jocko Willink, he's a excellent leadership speaker. Go look him up. He has a podcast. He also wrote several books. But anyways, sorry, had to butt in on that one.
Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. So, and the last word choice for you is going to be innovation versus consistency.
Innovation. I feel that the pursuit of something new and making something better is what drives not only me but drives everybody. That consistency piece, you're gonna hit a plateau. So this innovation of tweaking anything that you can and see the results of those changes that you have hit.
Consistency is that one where it's like things can be consistently bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I heard someone. I recently in the same vein that I recently interviewed someone that was like, you could be consistently doing the wrong thing. You could be consistently going in the wrong direction. I think I read a quote today that said, "Yeah, you've made progress, but you went the wrong way. Like you made progress in the wrong direction." So, no, I love that. And so we're about to jump into.
We're gonna have to add some new words.
Of course, yeah. I bet that.
Now now people that are watching, if they come and they're guest speakers, then they're gonna know what we said.
They're gonna know how to ace the test, that's for sure. So we're gonna make sure we switch it up a little bit. I want to, before we proceed with the conversation, acknowledge a few people. I don't know if we had a chance to formally acknowledge Camry Banks, who is an official part of the Support Center's TDP program. And then we also have Blake B on the line too, who just started with the Chick-fil-A's LDP program. I just wanted to acknowledge you guys for being on the line with us today. Is there anybody else who's on the line that's currently a part of any of the Support Center leadership programs? We definitely want to know that. So drop your name in the chat so we can give you a shout out today. But without further ado, we are in the capable hands of Javonna Roach and Joseph Martinez. Clap it up. Very good, guys.
All right. So first and foremost, I think I've already said this. And even like if you're a client or you're not a client, but you have things that you want to say or you want to communicate in this conversation, feel free to raise your hand. And if I don't get them, Neff, if you can watch for people raising their hand and help me spot hand raises, because I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to see that on the screen because I'm not technologically advanced. All right. So feel free to jump in on this conversation. I will tell you this. So Joseph hasn't. When was your last interview, Joseph?
My last interview came in December.
In December. So we're like, 6 months past. And so when he was asking to leave better, he's like, I'm so nervous. I don't even know. And I'm like, no, this is just a conversation. We're just having a conversation. And ultimately, in this conversation, what we want to talk about today is communication and communicating your story and who you are. Because at the end of the day, you got that one. At the end of the day, getting into LDP, TDP, becoming an operator, the thing that they want to know is they just want to know you. They want to know you. They want authenticity. I know Owen actually asked me in our last call. Owen, what was your question in our last call that you asked me at the very end?
How to stand out in the interview process.
How to stand out in the interview process. He said, my operator asked me to ask you, how can I stand out in the interview process? What was my answer, Owen? I can't hear you. Your mic's off.
Sorry, I'm not tech savvy either. It was just being authentic and being yourself and just viewing everything as a conversation.
Right. Just view it as a conversation. Like they just want to get to know you. And so today we're going to kind of go through 3 segments that I work through with all clients in the very beginning. And this won't be the how-to. So you'll actually have to join TDP if you want, or TPE if you want to get some of this coaching. But we're going to kind of go through some of the segments that we go through in order to help define who you are as an individual. And then that helps you through the interview process. And so I'm going to ask Joseph some questions. I told Camry if he wants to speak up and kind of help Joseph answer some of these questions, that would be awesome too. Hey, Neff, can you pin Camry up here for me too? Do you mind, Camry, if I pin you on my screen? You're good with that? Okay, good. All right. So we're going to walk through some things. But the first thing that I want to do is I want Joseph to tell you his story. So the way that I start with all of my clients, the very first meeting we have, I tell them my story and I make them tell me their story. And y'all, I'm going to tell you this. I've had somebody tell me their story in 1 minute and 20 seconds. That was my very first client, actually. And I'm sure he'd be fine with me telling you that. He didn't tell me he was married. He didn't tell me he had kids. All he told me was like what he did at Chick-fil-A. And I was like, hey, bud, I think you're more than just an operations director at Chick-fil-A. And that's something that I need to know in order to help you get to where you want to go. I've also had clients, when they tell me their story, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes. And I'm like, okay, the whole interview can't be your story. They're going to want to get to ask you some questions. And so the very first thing that I do with any client is I have them tell me their story. And Joseph's story, so Joseph was my second client. I started with Roderick, and I'm sure Joseph can tell you a little bit in his story of how he found me, because he'll kind of get to that part at the end of his story. But Joseph was my second client. And so I was really still working through a lot of the systems and processes that we currently use at TPE in order to help our clients. But when Joseph first told me his story, was I intrigued, but I still left that conversation and didn't know who Joseph was. And the second meeting that we had, the first thing I told Joseph was, Joseph, I would not let you into the LDP program with the story that you told me last time, because I don't really know who you are. And so after that second meeting, and then maybe the third meeting, I was like, okay, this is Joseph. And the cool thing about your story, and I want to really, really highlight this, is every person's story is specifically your story. Like, it's not, I don't want you to tell me somebody else's story. I don't want you to tell me, X, Y, and Z, like they got to hit these 3 different things. No. I just want to get to know you. And that authenticity is what's going to help push you to that next level. And so we're going to start today by Joseph telling us his story so that you guys can get to know a little bit about Joseph before we kind of dig into like the 3 parts that we work through in order to help Joseph solidify who he is and where he's going. All right, Joseph, so take it away.
All right, I'm going to show a little shorter version, because if I go through everything I learned from you, I could say the 30-minute version now. No. I'm going to say my name is Joseph Martinez. Born in Bronx, New York. When I was 3 years old, I moved to Puerto Rico with my family. Come from a big Catholic family. We grew up in a 3-story house. There was 15 cousins. Love sports, especially baseball and basketball, and definitely where I get my competitive spirit. Just competing with my cousins as himself. That's his own baseball team and basketball team right there. Had my upcomings in public schools in Puerto Rico. Graduated in business administration from the University of Puerto Rico in Cayenne. There, I definitely learned to love the connection between taking care of your team and how you take care of your guests by doing that. Shortly after that, I moved to the mainland. That was back in 2018. And shortly after coming to West Virginia, where I joined my brother, Puerto Rico suffered a big hurricane. And that's when it was a blessing in disguise, because me being away from my family, other than the hardship of being away from them in such a horrible time, it challenged me, and I was able to connect with a church, and I was able to send a generator back home. That same generator, 8 years later, last summer, I was back home. There was a power outage, and that same generator helped me and my family, which was a nice 360 to see that come through. And when I arrived at West Virginia, going backwards again, I stumbled upon Chick-fil-A. Never had heard about Chick-fil-A or the company. Walk into, and I'm welcome with warm welcome, smiles, great food. And my business geekness is going crazy. Where is this place? And it sounds silly, but it was everything I've been envisioning without even knowing it existed. And I grabbed an application that same day. 2 weeks later, I was that team member. Started my journey in Chick-fil-A immediately after that. I was able to go to different shift leads, evening director, and later got promoted to director of operations. Got promoted right in February of 2020. That year brought its own challenges. As we all know, COVID was impactful for all of us, but it definitely brought different challenges, but continuously adapting with my leaders and myself. And we repeated symbol of success that year. We won Champions Club, so we were very happy for those opportunities and able to learn so much of myself and those struggles. Immediately after that, I was blessed with the opportunity to go through the process of a multi-unit restaurant interview process. I was part of the executive team, so I witnessed firsthand with my operator, and we were awarded the second restaurant. I was very happy because my operator, Tom Mentor, was definitely deserving of it for the things that he's done, not only for me and my team, but for the community of Charleston, West Virginia. 2023, I got engaged to my now fiance Olivia. It is a Chick-fil-A relationship. But Javonna would kill me if I don't mention Olivia. That year, it was a lot of preparation for the second store, a lot of challenges, onboarding, a lot of hiring and training, while still maintaining in that moment a $12 million operation. It was great. It was a great journey itself. And in March of 2023, we opened the second store, which was McCorkle Avenue. In just 9 days of sales, we were profitable. So we were very happy for that accomplishment. Finished that year, I was running operation for both stores, and finished that year running a $22 million operation. So very happy for that as well, for that opportunity. 2024 kicks in, and that's when me and my operator sit down, and we had talked about LDP already, and we had decided at the beginning of the year was when I was going to submit my application officially to LDP. So my main focus went to one restaurant, the new restaurant, and there I was going to focus on training Keenan Huffman, who was going to be my replacement, while ongoing on the interview process. Little that I knew that interview process was going to be its own journey and its own challenges. I struggled with on the restaurant acumen. That arguably is probably the easiest one, but for my surprise, that's where I struggled. I had the restaurant acumen that March, and I unfortunately did not pass. I got to know, and not now. And that was a wall I was not expecting. I thought it was going to cruise. I felt that I was prepared, and it was an eye opener for me. But I'm a true believer that everything happens for a reason, and there was a lesson to be learned. And shortly after that, I got another grand opening experience in Puerto Rico. So I was able to go back to Puerto Rico, where I want to go eventually and be an operator. And I met some wonderful people, JOSs and operators that I still stay in touch today. And they're definitely helped me in my journey during the LDP interviews, but even in my day-to-day. So finish that, go back and do the restaurant acumen. And guess what? I failed again. That was I had so many questions. I got some good feedback. That I answered everything right in the restaurant acumen, but I was not communicating clearly on who am I, or I was not showcasing passion. And anybody that spends 2 minutes with me in the restaurant or anywhere near me will never say that there's no passion in me. So I was definitely not showcasing who I was. And that's when I started my journey with TPE. And after several exercises with Javonna, I realized I definitely realized why I was not getting into the program. And through the different exercises that she helped me overcome, today I could say I am happily in the program thanks to the help that she helped me identify who am I. I knew my restaurant acumen. I knew my business acumen. I didn't know much of who is Joseph Martinez. And it took those classes and those exercises with Javonna to make me realize that.
So how long have you been in LDP?
So I got my first training started in March. So it's been now a couple of months. I've been in my first assignment now 2 months, and I'm in Alexandria, Louisiana.
Yeah, so he's at a mall in Alexandria, Louisiana, which comes with its own challenges. We had a call this week, and I was like, hey, so how are things going? He's like, man. So that's a whole nother lead better that we could do of like, what are the LDP challenges? What are the TDP challenges? And how do you overcome this? But we're not there yet. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is that foundation piece, like that who you are piece. So it's interesting because I have a lot of clients that actually show up their very first 2 sessions that we have together. And that's what I find out is like, I don't even really know who I am. Like, what are my values? What are my mission? Who am I? Because you have to know who you are before you can even communicate that. Like, that's the key. So first question I have, and Camry, if you want to start to kind of pair in with Joseph, that's fine too. So before coaching, how would you have described your personal values and mission? And how did that change after we started kind of working together?
So before my meetings with you, I would have just described them as just inconsistent and unclear. I would have been very general on the different values I would have mentioned, and maybe you would have answered. I would have answered with different answers every time you asked me, because I never felt of writing them down or even writing down my mission statement. But now, after several exercises, I identify which are the core values for me and the why I do what motivates me and why what is that ultimate life mission. So it definitely brought clarity to me, and to this day I still reference the same ones, and it's definitely brought clarity, like I mentioned.
All right, Cameron, what do you think?
Yeah, I think what Joseph said was good. When I think back, I remember a question that you asked me as we were starting to do our exercises, and it was, 30 or 40 years from now, what do you want to be remembered by? Like, what do you want to say over the course of your lives that you were able to accomplish? And you said, picture yourself on the porch, drinking tea or whatever it is that you like. And so as I thought about that, I thought, okay, man, what does that really mean? And that's kind of when we came up with the values, and impact is something that I said, and not just the impact, I made an acronym for it. But it was really good to think about, beyond Chick-fil-A, like what it is for what you want to do in your life and also in a career, but, more so of like who you are as a person.
Yeah. So I always tell my clients, and these two guys can attest to this, like when you get into the interview process, they don't just want to know what you've accomplished, like in the Chick-fil-A world, which a lot of candidates walk into it with, like, I have some good stories around, a sales goal that I hit, or a CEM score that I hit, or, I really did X, Y, or Z well in the Chick-fil-A world. But like, who is Camry? Who is Joseph? If you were to strip Chick-fil-A away, if you were to take that away, what are we left with? Right? That's a good question, right? Like, if I were to take Chick-fil-A out of my life, so I've been with Chick-fil-A 24 years. So if I were to strip away all of Chick-fil-A, who really is Javonna, and what does she want to get out of life? That's a question you need to ask yourself. Because Chick-fil-A is just a means to be able to help accomplish that, right? It's just the means that we have, the work that we do. And there's a lot of work that we do in our lives that's outside of Chick-fil-A. And they want to know that stuff too. They want to know, who are you outside of just the job that you have? Okay, so second question. What exercises or conversations during coaching helped you connect the dots between your passions, gifts, and your calling? What were some of the exercises that you felt like were the most helpful?
One of the exercises that stood out to me early on in our journey, and it was one of our first meetings, was our story mapping. You challenged me to not only identify 5 hardships and also 5 highlights, not in different parts of my life, especially in my early upcoming. And it brought light to a lot of experience that maybe I don't think about in my day to day, but they definitely influence on who I am today. And one of those stories I recall, I don't mention this in my interviews, was my brother moving away to the mainland when I was 12 years old. I was just a teenager, and I see my older brother leave. And in that moment, I didn't have much understanding, and I didn't know how much that impact it had on me being able to leave years later from Puerto Rico myself, because I've seen him grow to a successful person, a successful father. So that itself enabled me to make that leap and leave my family for the time being and make that courageous decision to come to the mainland. So that was a good reflection exercise that definitely helped me learn a lot about myself.
Cameron, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think that was a good answer. Along with that, the story map, along with the stories, kind of a theme throughout our life, but also the people. I remember us having a conversation, you saying, looking at the people that you put on here and listening to the conversations that I may have had with that person, it's like impact. And so throughout my life, I've been associated with people who have had either impact on me or other people. And so, going through that story map also helped me realize the type of people that I surrounded myself around.
So, Camry, you keep talking about the word impact. So, Camry, and every client's different, y'all. So this isn't like something that I have each individual one do, but Camry decided to create a acronym for his value set. So, can you explain to us what your value set is and why you chose that?
Yeah. So, my value is impact. And I believe, it's just more than just saying impact. And so I made an acronym. So I is for influence. So I hope at the end of my life that everyone that I've came in contact with can have some type of impact, whether it's influence. So I've motivated them, and people, whether with Chick-fil-A or without Chick-fil-A, that I've influenced or impacted them in some way. And I've advocated for people and care for not only the people that are in the business, but also my family as well, and talent. And I think, this is a good example of helping the next person in line. So making sure that I'm paying it forward as well.
I love that. I still think about that acronym, and I use that sometimes with other clients. I'm like, if you want to come up with an acronym for your value set, you can. You don't have to, but I do think that it's important that you at least remember those values, because once you get into LDP and TDP or become an operator, like those things are going to stay true to who you are, and those are the things that you're going to want to represent in your restaurant as your Chick-fil-A brand. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
I'll just say too,
Go for it.
they look for those values to be lived out. And so in the questions they ask, they want to hear and see in the stories that you tell and account, are the values lived out? So if you're talking about relationships and all of a sudden you say, well, we took over this store and we fired everybody on day one without talking to them. Well, it's a little challenging to understand how one of your core values is relationships, and the action that you're doing does not connect back to that.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your friend, Pastor John R. Adolph from the Antioch Church in Beaumont, Texas. And I just want to slip this in right quick so you'll never forget. It's all about progress over perfection here at TPE.
Tap into the Pivot Experience, where we help young, hungry entrepreneurs move on to the next step.